upon something that completely changed your life? Join Lisa and her curious son Jake as they uncover an old chest at a flea market, sparking an adventure filled with secrets from the past. Mom, look at this chest. Jake's voice is full of wonder. Inside, they find a diary from 1910 revealing a story of love and perseverance. Who was Eleanor? And what happened to her and William? The sun was just beginning to warm the cool morning air as Lisa and her son Jake navigated the maze of stalls at the local flea market. It was one of their favorite weekend activities, a tradition they had started after Jake's father left 2 years ago. The market was alive with the hum of conversations, the sense of food trucks wafting through the air, and the vibrant colors of various goods on display. Mom, look at this. Jake's voice broke through Lisa's thoughts. She turned to see him holding up an old leather-bound book, its cover cracked with age. Do you think it's a magic book? Lisa chuckled, ruffling his dark hair. It's probably just an old diary or something. But you never know, right? She winked at him, enjoying the spark of excitement in his eyes. For a 10-year-old, Jake had an insatiable curiosity, always imagining grand adventures and mysteries waiting to be solved. They wandered further, stopping occasionally to inspect trinkets and oddities. Jake's excitement was contagious, and Lisa found herself getting caught up in the thrill of the hunt. They rounded a corner and found themselves in a quieter section of the market, where the stalls were fewer and the items more eclectic. That's when they saw it. The old chest was tucked away behind a stall, almost hidden from view. It was unlike anything else in the market, large and made of dark wood, its surface adorned with intricate carvings that hinted at stories long forgotten. Dust and cobwebs clung to it, suggesting it had been untouched for years. Mom, look at that chest. Jake's eyes were wide with wonder. Lisa approached the chest cautiously, her fingers tracing the elaborate designs. It was beautiful in a haunting sort of way. She turned to the vendor, an elderly man with a weathered face and a twinkle in his eye. How much for this chest? She asked, trying to sound casual. The vendor's expression changed, a hint of hesitation crossing his features. Ah, that old thing. It's been here for ages. Never thought anyone would be interested in it. Tell you what, I'll let it go for $20. Lisa sensed there was more to the story, but she didn't press. Instead, she handed over the money and, with Jake's help, carefully lifted the chest. It was heavier than it looked, adding to the sense of mystery. As they walked back to their car, Lisa noticed Jake's excitement had turned to a thoughtful silence. What are you thinking about, kiddo? She asked. I just wonder what's inside, he replied, his voice filled with wonder. Do you think it's treasure, or maybe a pirate's map? Only one way to find out, Lisa said, smiling at his enthusiasm. She was curious too, and something about the chest felt important, like it was meant for them to find. Back home, they placed the chest in the living room. Lisa fetched a damp cloth and began to clean off the years of grime while Jake watched eagerly. As the wood's natural beauty began to shine through, the carvings became even more striking, swirling patterns that seemed to tell a story in a language lost to time. Are you ready? Lisa asked, her heart beating a little faster. Jake nodded vigorously. Open it, Mom. With a deep breath, Lisa lifted the heavy lid. The hinges creaked in protest, and for a moment it felt like the chest itself was reluctant to reveal its secrets. But then it gave way, and the lid opened fully. Inside, they found a collection of old documents, yellowed with age, and a small leather-bound diary. Beneath these, nestled in a corner, was a small, ornate key. Lisa picked up the diary first, its cover embossed with the name Eleanor. Who do you think Eleanor was? Jake asked, peering over her shoulder. I don't know, Lisa replied, her curiosity piqued. But I think we're about to find out. She opened the diary carefully, the pages brittle under her touch. The first entry was dated January 1st, 1910. My dearest diary, Lisa read aloud, her voice soft. Today marks the beginning of a new year, and I hope a new chapter in my life. The world feels so full of possibilities, yet so constrained by the expectations placed upon me. Lisa paused, glancing at Jake. This is really old, Jake. We might be looking at someone's personal history here. Jake's eyes were wide with excitement. Keep reading, Mom, please. Lisa continued, her voice drawing them both deeper into Eleanor's world. The diary entries painted a picture of a young woman filled with dreams and desires, living in a time when society's expectations were often at odds with personal aspirations. Eleanor wrote of her love for a man named William, a romance that seemed both passionate and forbidden. Hours passed without them noticing, the daylight fading as they lost themselves in the story. They found old letters and photographs tucked between the pages, each piece adding to the tapestry of Eleanor's life. "This is amazing," Jake said, his voice filled with awe. "It's like we're detectives solving a mystery from the past." Lisa smiled, ruffling his hair again. "It really is. And you know what? I think there's more to this chest than we realize. We should keep going, see where it leads us." That night, as they prepared for bed, Lisa couldn't shake the feeling that finding the chest was no accident. It felt like Eleanor's story had been waiting for them, ready to reveal its secrets. And as she tucked Jake in, she knew this was just the beginning of their adventure. "Good night, Mom," Jake said, yawning. "I can't wait to see what we find out tomorrow." "Good night, Jake," Lisa replied, leaning down to kiss his forehead. "Sweet dreams." As she closed his door and headed to her own room, Lisa felt a sense of anticipation she hadn't felt in years. The chest had opened more than just a story from the past. It had opened a door to new possibilities for her and Jake, and she couldn't wait to see where it would lead them next. The next morning, Lisa awoke to the sound of birds chirping outside her window. Sunlight streamed into the room, casting a warm glow that made everything seem possible. She stretched, feeling a renewed sense of energy. Today was a new day, and she and Jake had a mystery to solve. In the kitchen, Jake was already up, pouring cereal into a bowl. His face lit up when he saw Lisa. "Morning, Mom. Are we going to look at the chest again?" Lisa smiled, ruffling his hair. "Absolutely. But let's eat breakfast first. We need our energy for all the detective work ahead." As they ate, they talked about the diary and the letters they had found. Jake was particularly fascinated by Eleanor's story, and Lisa couldn't help but share his excitement. There was something about uncovering the past that made their own lives feel richer, more connected to the world around them. After breakfast, they returned to the living room where the chest awaited. The morning light made the carvings on the wood even more striking, and Lisa felt a thrill of anticipation as she lifted the lid once more. "Let's start with the letters," Jake suggested, his eyes sparkling with curiosity. Lisa agreed, carefully picking up a bundle of letters tied together with a faded ribbon. The paper was delicate, the ink slightly smudged from age, but the writing was still legible. The letters were addressed to Eleanor from various correspondents, some family, some friends, and one in particular from William. Jake read over her shoulder as she opened the first letter. It was from Eleanor's sister, Margaret, dated June 12, 1910. "Dear Eleanor," Lisa read aloud, "I hope this letter finds you well. Mother has been asking about you, wondering when you will come to visit. I know things have been difficult with Father, but we miss you terribly. Please write back soon. Love, Margaret." Lisa looked at Jake. "It seems like Eleanor had some family troubles." Jake nodded thoughtfully. "Yeah, I wonder what happened with her dad." They continued reading, moving through the letters one by one. Each one added more pieces to the puzzle of Eleanor's life. There were mentions of social events, family gatherings, and then more intimate notes from William. "Dear Eleanor," one of William's letters began, "I think of you constantly. The memory of our last meeting fills my heart with both joy and sorrow. I wish we could be together without the constraints of society's expectations. Yours forever, William." Jake's eyes widened. "It's like a love story. But it sounds really sad, too." Lisa nodded, feeling a pang of empathy for Eleanor. "It does. I wonder what kept them apart." As they delved deeper into the contents of the chest, they found more diary entries. Each one offered a glimpse into Eleanor's thoughts and feelings, painting a vivid picture of her struggles and dreams. One entry stood out in particular, dated September 15, 1910. "My heart aches with the weight of the decisions I must make. William and I have decided to run away together, to a place where no one knows us, where we can start anew. But the thought of leaving my family behind fills me with dread. How do I choose between love and duty?" Lisa read the entry aloud, her voice filled with emotion. She could feel Eleanor's pain, her longing for a life of her own choosing. That's so sad, Jake said softly. Do you think they ran away? I don't know, Lisa replied, her mind racing with possibilities. But I think we need to find out. They continued their investigation, carefully examining every item in the chest. During the letters and diary entries, they found a small, ornate key. It was intricately designed, with a pattern that matched the carvings on the chest. Lisa held it up, turning it over in her hand. I wonder what this opens, she mused. Maybe it's a secret compartment in the chest. Jake suggested, his excitement renewed. They searched the chest thoroughly, looking for any hidden compartments or secret locks. Finally, Jake's fingers brushed against a small, almost invisible latch on the side of the chest. With a click, a hidden drawer popped open, revealing a bundle of papers in a small velvet pouch. Lisa carefully unfolded the papers, her breath catching as she read the first few lines. It's a deed to a piece of property, she said, her voice trembling with excitement. It's dated 1912, and it's in Eleanor's name. Jake's eyes widened. Do you think it's still there? The place she and William went. I don't know, Lisa replied, her mind racing, but we need to find out. This could be the key to understanding what happened to Eleanor. Inside the velvet pouch, they found a locket with a tiny photograph of a young woman and a man, Eleanor and William, Lisa assumed. The locket was engraved with the words, "Forever in my heart," adding another layer of poignancy to their story. As the day wore on, Lisa and Jake made plans to visit the address listed on the deed. It was a few hours' drive away, but they were determined to uncover the truth. The chest had opened a door to the past, and they felt a deep need to follow wherever it led. That evening, as they prepared for their journey, Lisa felt a sense of anticipation and purpose. She looked at Jake, who was busy packing a small backpack with snacks and a notebook. Are you ready for an adventure? She asked, smiling at him. Jake grinned back. Definitely. I can't wait to see what we find. Lisa nodded, feeling a warm sense of connection to her son. This shared quest was bringing them closer, giving them something to look forward to together. And as they set out the next morning, she couldn't help but feel that they were on the brink of discovering something truly remarkable about Eleanor, about themselves, and about the ties that bind us all across time and history. The drive to the address on the deed was filled with a mix of excitement and nervous anticipation. As Lisa and Jake wound through country roads, the scenery changed from suburban sprawl to wide-open fields and dense woods. It was a beautiful day, with the sun casting a golden light over everything, making the journey feel almost magical. Are we almost there? Jake asked, his face pressed against the window as he took in the passing landscapes. Just about, Lisa replied, glancing at the GPS. According to this, we're only a few miles away. As they approached their destination, the road turned to gravel and then to a narrow dirt path lined with tall trees. The sense of stepping back in time grew stronger with every mile. Finally, they reached a clearing. And there it was, an old, weathered estate that had clearly seen better days. The house stood tall, with peeling paint and overgrown ivy, but it still held an air of elegance and mystery. This must be it, Lisa said, parking the car and stepping out. Jake followed, his eyes wide with wonder. Wow, he whispered. It's like something out of a storybook. They walked up to the front door, which creaked ominously as Lisa pushed it open. Inside, the house was dim and musty, but shafts of sunlight streaming through broken windows illuminated dust particles in the air, creating an almost ethereal atmosphere. Let's be careful, Lisa warned. This place looks pretty old and unstable. They began to explore, moving from room to room. The interior was filled with antique furniture covered in dust sheets and old portraits. Hung on the walls, their subjects staring down with somber expressions. It was as if the house itself was waiting to reveal its secrets. In one of the upstairs bedrooms, they found a small writing desk. Lisa opened the drawers, her heart pounding with anticipation. Inside, she found a stack of letters, similar to the ones in the chest, along with a faded photograph of Eleanor and William standing in front of the house, smiling. Look at this, Lisa said, showing the photograph to Jake. It's them. This must have been their home. Jake studied the photograph, his expression thoughtful. Do you think they were happy here? I hope so, Lisa replied softly. It seems like they fought hard to be together. As they continued to search the house, they found more traces of Eleanor and William's life together. An old journal, a box of keepsakes, and finally, in the attic, a large trunk similar to the one they had found at the flea market. "This could be it," Jake said, his voice filled with excitement. Lisa nodded, her hands trembling slightly as she opened the trunk. Inside, they found more letters and documents, but also something unexpected: a small, hand-bound book titled Eleanor's Dreams. It appeared to be a collection of Eleanor's thoughts and aspirations, written in a neat, flowing script. Lisa sat down and began to read aloud. March 3rd, 1912. My dearest William, as I sit here in our new home, I feel a sense of peace I've never known before. The world outside these walls may judge us, but within this house, we are free to be ourselves. I dream of the life we will build together, the family we will raise, and the love that will sustain us. The entries were filled with hope and love, a stark contrast to the challenges Eleanor had faced in the outside world. It was clear that this house had been a sanctuary for her and William, a place where they could live out their dreams. Jake listened intently, his eyes shining. They really loved each other, didn't they? They did, Lisa agreed, feeling a lump in her throat. It's amazing how much they went through to be together. As they continued reading, they discovered that Eleanor and William had indeed started a family. There were mentions of children, of laughter and joy, of struggles and triumphs. Each entry painted a picture of a life filled with love and resilience. The final entry was dated July 14th, 1920. My dearest children, as I write this, I am filled with gratitude for the life we have built together. Your father and I have faced many challenges, but our love has always seen us through. I hope that one day you will read these words and know how much you are loved and how important it is to follow your heart, no matter the obstacles. Love always, Eleanor. Lisa closed the book, tears in her eyes. She wrote this for her children. She wanted them to know their story. Jake looked up at her, his expression serious. I think Eleanor wanted us to know their story too. That's why we found the chest. Lisa nodded, wiping away a tear. I think you're right, Jake. This was meant for us to find. As they packed up the items they had found, Lisa felt a deep sense of connection to Eleanor and William. Their story was one of love and perseverance, of finding joy in the face of adversity. It was a reminder of the power of love and the importance of following one's heart. That evening, as they drove back home, the sky painted with the colors of sunset, Lisa felt a sense of peace and fulfillment. They had uncovered a beautiful story, one that had bridged the gap between past and present. And as they looked forward to the days ahead, she knew that this journey had brought them closer together, enriching their lives in ways they had never imagined. Jake glanced over at her, a contented smile on his face. Thanks for taking me on this adventure, Mom. Lisa reached over and squeezed his hand. Thank you for sharing it with me, Jake. I wouldn't have wanted to do it with anyone else. As they drove on, the house faded into the distance, but the story of Eleanor and William would stay with them forever, a testament to the enduring power of love and the importance of chasing one's dreams. The next morning, Lisa and Jake sat at the kitchen table, sipping their orange juice and going over their plans. They had decided to visit the local library and historical society to see if they could uncover more about Eleanor and William's life after they left their home. The sun was already high in the sky, promising a warm day ahead. Do you think we'll find anything about them? Jake asked, his face full of hope. I'm not sure, Lisa replied, smiling at his enthusiasm. But it's worth a try. If they started a new life somewhere, there might be records or even descendants who know their story. They arrived at the library just as it opened. The building was old, with tall windows and shelves lined with books that seemed to hold the weight of history itself. The librarian, a kind woman named Mrs. Fletcher, greeted them warmly. How can I help you today? She asked, her eyes twinkling with curiosity. We're looking for information on a couple named Eleanor and William, Lisa explained. They might have moved to this area around 1910. We have some letters and a diary, but we're trying to fill in the gaps. Mrs. Fletcher's face lit up with interest. That sounds fascinating. Let's see what we can find. We have local records and newspapers that go back over 100 years. They followed her to a room filled with old newspapers, microfilm, and local history books. Mrs. Fletcher showed them how to use the microfilm reader, and they began their search, scrolling through pages of old newspapers and records. After a few hours of searching, Jake let out an excited gasp. "Mom, look at this!" Lisa hurried over to see what he had found. It was an article from a local newspaper dated March 1912. The headline read, "New residents start life anew in our town." The article mentioned a young couple, Eleanor and William, who had recently moved to the area and were setting up a small farm. "This is it," Lisa said, her heart racing. "This proves they made it here." Jake's eyes shone with excitement. "Do you think we can find out more about their farm?" Mrs. Fletcher smiled. "We might have something in the property records. Let's take a look." They spent the next few hours poring over old maps and property deeds. Finally, they found a record for a small farm purchased by William in early 1912. The property was a few miles out of town, nestled in a quiet valley. Lisa and Jake thanked Mrs. Fletcher profusely and set off to find the farm. The drive took them through picturesque countryside with rolling hills and fields of wildflowers. Eventually, they turned down a narrow dirt road that led to a charming, if somewhat dilapidated, farmhouse. "This must be it," Lisa said, parking the car and stepping out. The house was weathered but sturdy, with an inviting porch and a large, ancient oak tree in the front yard. Jake ran ahead, his excitement palpable. "Mom, look, there's an old barn and a well." Lisa followed, taking in the sights. She could almost imagine Eleanor and William here, building their life together. The sense of history was overwhelming, as if the past was reaching out to touch them. As they explored the property, they found more traces of Eleanor and William's life. An old plow, rusting in the field, a crumbling stone wall that might have once enclosed a garden, and in the barn, an old chest similar to the one they had found at the flea market. Jake's eyes widened. "Do you think it's theirs?" "Only one way to find out," Lisa replied, her heart pounding with anticipation. They carefully opened the chest, and inside they found more letters and photographs, along with a few personal items, a locket, a handkerchief embroidered with the initials EW, and a small book titled Our Life Together. Lisa opened the book, her hands trembling slightly. It was filled with entries detailing Eleanor and William's life on the farm, their struggles and triumphs, their hopes and dreams. One entry dated May 1st, 1913, stood out. "Today marks 1 year since we arrived at our new home. It has not been easy, but every challenge we face together. Our love has grown stronger with each passing day, and I know that as long as we have each other, we can overcome anything. This farm is our sanctuary, our dream realized." Jake looked up at Lisa, his eyes shining. "They did it, Mom. They really did it." Lisa nodded, feeling a lump in her throat. They did. They built a life together, just like they dreamed. They spent the rest of the afternoon exploring the farm, feeling a deep connection to Eleanor and William. It was as if they were walking in their footsteps, experiencing a piece of their history firsthand. As the sun began to set, casting a golden light over the fields, Lisa and Jake sat on the porch, looking out at the landscape. The air was filled with the sounds of nature, and the scent of wildflowers drifted on the breeze. "Thank you for bringing me here, Mom," Jake said softly. "This has been the best adventure ever." Lisa smiled, wrapping her arm around him. "Thank you for sharing it with me, Jake. I couldn't have done it without you." They sat in companionable silence, the bond between them strengthened by the journey they had undertaken. The story of Eleanor and William had brought them closer, teaching them the importance of love, resilience, and the courage to follow one's dreams. As the stars began to twinkle in the evening sky, Lisa felt a sense of peace and fulfillment. They had uncovered a beautiful story, one that connected them to the past and enriched their own lives. And as they looked forward to the days ahead, she knew that this adventure had only just begun. The next morning dawned bright and clear, casting a warm glow over the farmhouse and its surrounding fields. Lisa and Jake awoke with a sense of purpose, ready to delve deeper into Eleanor and William's life on the farm. After a quick breakfast, they returned to the barn to continue exploring the chest they had found. As they sifted through the contents, Lisa discovered a stack of letters tied together with a piece of twine. These letters were from Eleanor to her children, written over the years and never sent. Lisa's heart ached as she read the first one, dated January 1st, 1915. My dearest children, she began, her voice soft as I write this, I am filled with love and hope for your future. Your father and I have worked hard to build a life here, and I dream of the day when you will read these words and understand the depth of our love for you and for each other. Jake leaned closer, captivated by the letter. They wrote these for their kids? That's so sweet. Lisa nodded, tears in her eyes. It's like they wanted to make sure their children knew their story, even if they couldn't tell them in person. They continued reading, each letter a testament to the love and resilience that had defined Eleanor and William's life. The letters spoke of the joys and challenges they faced, their hopes and dreams, and their unwavering commitment to one another and to their family. One letter, dated July 4th, 1918, stood out in particular. In it, Eleanor described a difficult year marked by poor harvests and financial struggles. Yet, even in the face of adversity, her words were filled with hope and determination. We have faced many challenges, she wrote, but we have faced them together with love and strength. Our children are our greatest blessing, and it is for them that we continue to persevere. No matter what the future holds, we will always have each other. Jake looked up at Lisa, his eyes filled with admiration. They never gave up, did they? No, they didn't, Lisa replied, her voice thick with emotion. They fought for their dreams and for each other, no matter what. As they neared the end of the stack of letters, they found one final letter, dated September 2nd, 1920. This letter was different, written in a more formal, official tone. Lisa's heart skipped a beat as she read the opening lines. To our beloved children, it began, if you are reading this, it means that we are no longer with you. We have left this world, but our love for you endures. Know that you are our greatest joy, and that our love for you and for each other was the foundation of our lives. Lisa paused, her throat tight with emotion. Jake's eyes were wide, and he reached out to hold her hand. She squeezed his hand gently, drawing strength from his presence. We have faced many trials and tribulations, the letter continued, but we have always faced them together, with love and resilience. Our wish for you is that you carry this love forward, that you build your lives on the same foundation of love and strength that sustained us. For us, not with sorrow, but with joy, knowing that we live a life full of love and happiness. Tears streamed down Lisa's face as she finished reading. The letter was a beautiful testament to Eleanor and William's enduring love and their hopes for their children's future. They wanted their kids to know how much they were loved, Jake said softly. That's so beautiful. It really is, Lisa agreed, wiping away her tears. It's a reminder of what's truly important in life. As they sat in the barn, surrounded by the remnants of Eleanor and William's life, Lisa felt a deep sense of connection to the past. Their story had touched her in ways she hadn't expected, reminding her of the importance of love, resilience, and the courage to follow one's dreams. That afternoon, they decided to visit the local historical society to see if they could learn more about what happened to Eleanor and William's children. The building was small and unassuming, but inside it was filled with artifacts and records that told the story of the town and its residents. The curator, a friendly woman named Mrs. Andrews, greeted them warmly. "How can I help you today?" she asked. "We're looking for information about a family who lived here in the early 1900s, Lisa explained. "Eleanor and William. They had children, and we'd like to know what happened to them." Mrs. Andrews' eyes lit up with interest. "That's a fascinating story. Let me see what I can find." She led them to a room filled with old records and documents. After a few minutes of searching, she found a file containing information about Eleanor and William's family. "It looks like they had 3 children," Mrs. Andrews said, reading from the file. "Their eldest son, James, took over the farm after their passing. Their daughter, Mary, became a teacher, and their youngest son, Robert, moved to the city to pursue a career in business." Lisa and Jake listened intently as Mrs. Andrews shared the details of the children's lives. Each one had built a life that honored their parents' legacy, carrying forward the values of love and resilience that Eleanor and William had instilled in them. As they left the historical society, Lisa felt a sense of closure. They had uncovered the full story of Eleanor and William, from their struggles and triumphs to the legacy they left behind. It was a story of love, perseverance, and the enduring power of family. That evening, as they sat on the porch of the farmhouse, watching the sun set over the fields, Lisa turned to Jake. "Thank you for being my partner in this adventure," she said, her voice filled with gratitude. Jake smiled, his eyes shining with happiness. "Thank you for bringing me along, Mom. It's been amazing." Lisa wrapped her arm around him, pulling him close. "We've learned so much, and we've grown closer because of it. Eleanor and William's story has shown us what truly matters." As the stars began to twinkle in the night sky, Lisa felt a deep sense of peace and fulfillment. They had uncovered a beautiful story, one that had bridged the gap between past and present. And as they looked forward to the days ahead, she knew that their adventure had enriched their lives in ways they could never have imagined. Together, they sat in the quiet of the evening, the legacy of Eleanor and William, a gentle reminder of the power of love, resilience, and the importance of following one's dreams. The farmhouse, once a symbol of mystery, had become a beacon of hope and connection, a testament to the enduring bonds of family and the timeless power of love.